What's up, guys? Ace, we're back with some more Commander Legends, actually looking back at the best of the rest. That is, the other cards that weren't revealed until the full showing of the set. Of course, as per usual, well, not really per usual, I've been slipping up here and there, but I'm going to mostly go over the mythics and the mythic rares that were revealed and also give my conclusions on the set and what I had thought. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's just jump into it. Anyways, first off, we have Triumphant Reckoning. 6 white sorcery. Return all artifact, enchantment, and planeswalker cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. This card is pretty bad for what I would like personally to be like on par with the rest of the mythic sorceries that we have in this set. This card is rough because I think for the most part the cards in your graveyard are gonna be exiled because there's a lot of exiling graveyard effects, and so it's probably not warranted, especially for a format that's geared towards Commander. This is rough because also not only that, it's not really a card that can be put into every white deck. That I think is what every other card, for the most part, can be used in the other mythic sorcery slots. Besides the black one I think is pretty bad, but it's still usable, right? This is specifically for those decks that want to rely more on non-creature permanents, which I guess could be good. It just means you have to gear your deck a little differently, and not only that, but like it also relies on your opponent's reacting to your board to destroy your artifact enchantments, right? And of course, if you're playing mono white, if you're playing white, actually, it doesn't even matter for mono white. If you're playing like Orzhov or Azorius or any combination thereof, maybe even Esper. No, they've got blue, right? This just doesn't hold up, right? Like you have protection to your stuff not going to your graveyard. If your stuff is going to your graveyard, you have ways to recur it because you're playing black, and then we're gonna play you don't really need to pay this 9 mana to do this thing, right? You only want it's 1 or 2 pieces from your graveyard. So odds are it's probably I would like it if it had said return all permanents from your graveyard to the battlefield, because like this is something white can do for the most part, except it can't return lands. It can return things like convert mana costs. So I sort of expect it to return everything. This is very I don't know, boys. White got it again. It got the poopy of all the spells. Anyways, I can't expect anything from Wizards to do like a nice, competent, relatively strong white card, because all their colors can just generally do things that white does better. That's just white color pie. That's just white's color pie. Anyways, next up, we have some cool reprints. We've got Slaughter the Strong reprinted, Open the Armory, and Orzhov Advocates reprinted, which is pretty neato bonito. Sith Ascendant also kind of neat. We have Aqueous Form. Is this this is reprinted, but I don't know how strong it is in Commander. Wow, we've got some nice like monarch cards reprinted in other colors at common, and we got one in white too for 4. But that's kind of cool. Can't be blocked by creatures the monarch controls. Ooh, so it's always getting it back. That's kind of neat. Oh, of course, usually this is just like draft chaff. Lack of better words. These are cards that no one got further spoilers, generally because they're not as like interesting, because it's something that's been done before. Reprinted is sort of what you want to use to make your draft deck. Boarding Party, 6 mana, hasty with Cascade, 6/3. That's pretty neat. Crimson Fleet Commodore, Ogre Pirate, Trample, and Monarch. Nice. Some pretty cool cards here. Goblin Trailbreakers. Explosion of Riches. 6 mana sorcery, draw a card, then each other player you may draw a card. Whenever a card is drawn this way, Explosion of Riches deals 5 damage to target opponent chosen at random from among your opponents. So if I'm reading this correctly, this card is essentially 6 mana cantrip, and everyone else draws a card, but then also you deal 20 damage randomly among your opponents. If you're playing something like a Furnace of Wrath or something, this is juicy. Of course, this is like in a mid power / battlecruisery deck, but like that's spicy. That just means 4 damage to your opponents. That's max damage, right? And you're playing red, so like you can ritual up to this. That's pretty spicy. Ooh. Interesting. So we also have Frenzied Saddle Brute. There are actually some pretty interesting like uncommons and commons here. Haste. All creatures can attack your opponents and planeswalkers your opponents control as though they had haste. 5/4. So like you can essentially give your creatures haste just to attack the opponent's planeswalkers, which is really neat. Geez, why isn't there any like new cool prints like this? I mean, there's like a few, I guess. It's like that aura that we skipped over, which I didn't go over really. I didn't think it was too interesting. It was the Benevolent Blessing. I think that's new. Flash enchant creature as well. Benevolent Blessing enters the battlefield. Choose a color. Enchanted creature protection from chosen color. This does not affect auras or equipment you control that are already attached to it. Does not remove. I'm not sure if you can attach anything else to it if it has protection on it, right? It only affects the things that are already attached. That's an interesting distinction. I don't know how important that will be, but I think that that's the case. It's whatever. It's whatever. All right, where are we? Where were we? Yeah, we saw this dragon. We want to go down. Rummaging Goblin. That's kind of cute. Deals target creature equal number lands you control. Stone Fury. Ooh. Volcanic Torrent, 5 mana Cascade. Deals X damage to each creature plays like you control, where X number of spells you cast this turn. Oof. That's pretty rough. Like, I don't think this is ever getting played. not in EDH anyways. Right, that's just too expensive. Volcanic Torrent? That's 100% too expensive. Like, you're playing some real battlecruiser if you're playing that. 5 mana sorcery, but also depends on the number of spells you cast this turn. So you gotta be playing like, this is gonna be like turn like 9 or something, which happens, but like that's the end game. And you get 2 spells from casting this one. Maybe it's like a storm deck wants this, they could pay off in battlecruiser, although that seems kind of eh. I don't know what would want that in battlecruiser. Anyways, we've got Crushing Vines, destroy a creature with flying or artifact. That's kind of cool. Any good stuff here? Any goodies? This is like a cool card. It's a Monstrous Onslaught. I think it was first printed in Aether Revolt. It's like a cool green board wipe. Although I don't know how important it is in Commander. Next up we have Hamza, Guardian of Arashin. 4 green and a white. Jeez. This spell costs 1 less for each creature you control, the +1/+1 counter on it. Creatures you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control, the +1/+1 counter on it. Okay, so +1/+1 counters matter in green and white. That's cool. So just make a big board fast. That's kind of cool. Kind of neat. Let's see, what else do we got here? Is Brass Herald worth talking about? I don't think so. What else? What other goodies can we salvage from here? Sunset Pyramid reprinted. We got a few other cool things here too that are got the new etched border, such as like the Zedru and the Carador. Kind of nice to have those. Also, the fact that they reprinted Sisei's Ring, 4 mana for like a fair soul ring. Like, imagine casting like a Sisei's Ring and then look at a soul ring. One is not like the other. 1 mana for 2 mana or 4 mana for 2 mana. I mean, granted, you make your mana the 3rd turn you tap this, but at turn 4, that's probably doable. Hoping no one has too much interaction and blows this up. This or Seer reprint, that's nice. Guildless Commons enters tapped. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Tap for 2 colorless. Oh, I thought in the spoilers this card actually entered untapped, but maybe that's just too OP, right? Because you move a land that, of course, you tap it for mana before you play this, and then you have 2 more mana, right? Yeah, I guess that is too OP. It's kind of neat though. It's kind of cool. Kind of cute. I don't know if I'd play it in my deck though. It's the fact that it comes in tapped. I don't like the tempo loss. Next up we have Jared, Carthalion True Heir for Naya. Legendary creature, human warrior. When Jared enters battlefield, target opponent becomes monarch. You can't become monarch this turn. If damage will be dealt to Jared while you are the monarch, prevent that damage and put that many +1 counters on it. I'm here for you. I'm here for what's mine. This guy is such a Chad. Did you guys see this dude? He's like actually a Chad. I think this card is fine for like battlecruisy mid power, just because the fact that he gives your opponent monarch really sucks and you can't get it this turn, so you have to have your opponent get 1 card. And like, imagine everyone after you, the person you didn't give monarch is immediately like to your right. That means everyone in the world can draw a card before you can draw a card. So you're like limiting yourself pretty badly with this. But when you do get monarch, you prevent damage from Jared and put that many counters on him. Wait, if damage would be dealt to Jared while you're monarch, prevent that damage, put that many counters on it. Usually when they say like they define the gender there, but they said it instead. Not that that's a major thing. I just thought that's like if you look at Mangara, I think it says he on him. I don't know. Um, yeah, this kind of I think more like think about this card, it actually kind of sucks. The fact that you had to give your opponent's monarch. It's like what if they just draw the removal spell? It was at no cost for them, literally. Like you gave them the card to draw the removal spell if you give them monarch. Like I don't know, the politics is even worth it with this card. It actually just kind of sucks. All right, never mind. Battle Cruiser. This one is Battle Cruiser only, boys. Don't play this in your deck. Don't play. I mean, what can you do with this card that like doesn't give your opponent monarch? That like stops them from using the monarch. Like Smothering Tide doesn't even help. Like this is the more I think about it, it's cool. It's definitely like a Chad card, especially like what he's wearing and that big ass sword. But it's not worth it. Don't play this card, boys. Don't play it. Next, we have Court of Ire. 3 mana, red enchantment. When it enters battlefield, you become monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, deal 2 damage to any target. If you're the monarch, deal 7 damage to any target or permanent instead. Hold your tongue lest you burn it. Okay. This card is cool. The fact that you can sort of control the board with this is kind of neat. I don't like the fact that it's 5 mana, but that might be worth the cost if you can hold your monarch, which I don't think red notoriously has the ability to hold because it doesn't have. I mean, if you're playing against green, they're gonna trample over, but red usually doesn't have too much like gatekeeping effects like white does or like blue does, right? Those are the colors that do that sort of stuff that have like the ghostly presence propaganda effects. So holding it is kind of I don't know how you're gonna hold it. But dealing 2 damage every turn, is it worth it? If you're playing like a Torbrand deck, maybe. But if you do hold it, 7 mana is a lot. And also, notice how like this is that weird wording that I was talking about. Like if you look at the red mythic sorcery, I think it specifies you can like look at it down here, I guess. Maybe you can find it down here. But it specifies that you can look at you deal damage to target creature, enchantment, or creature, planeswalker. Yeah, creature, planeswalker, or players. Like why doesn't they just say any target? This makes me think for now that like there's gonna be some new card type. Like there has to be some new card type. Also, I'm not quite sure if so they could see any target like they did on the Court of Ire, right? They could have said that instead. They said any target. Yeah, that makes me think that there's a new card type coming in. Maybe not, but yeah, I think if you can hold it, it's nice. It's also the only one that can compete really with the white court because it shoots down the spirits, so that way you can't get the the monarch back. And also the fact that it's 1 mana more, so like if you cast it and you have the mana for it, you actually just steal the monarch just by casting this. And like they're never going to be able to get it back because you just you zap down the one that always comes for the monarch that doesn't have haste that came in last turn or something like that, right? That's kind of cool though. I think it's neat. Next up, we have Ambush Viper. I'm actually surprised. Like they haven't printed this in a long time. I don't think have they. It's kind of cool, kind of neat removal spell. Okay. Captain Vaguest Wrath. Never wrath under attacks. You put plus counter for each time you cast it from your command zone in this game. It doesn't have haste, so I'm gonna ignore this. If this had haste, I think it'd be good. Pirates you control. Oh wait, it's pirates you control. For each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this turn. It doesn't have partner. This actually is not that bad. I think this is like a Craterhoof effect in a pirate deck. But this has to be. I mean, you can just draw it, right? You have like Imperial Recruiter, right? If you have Imperial Recruiter, this just gets this and you have your Craterhoof effect. That's kind of cool. That's kind of neat, actually. Maybe this just goes to 99. Captain Vargas. So, next up, we have Impulsive Pilferer. 1 red, 1/1. When Pilferer dies, create a treasure token. For 3 red, Encore. Of course, you guys know what Encore does. It sacrifices itself, so you get 3 red for using 4 red mana. This card is, I think, really sweet for a red uncommon. Like, imagine if white had some like uncommons like this. Like this is a really, I think this is a particularly strong uncommon. Now it does require you to do like basically do nothing if you do this early enough, because Encore is only at sorcery speed and you're only getting 3 mana back for encoring, assuming that your opponents are all still there and you didn't use your last treasure token. So this is 5 mana, get 4 mana. I mean, you can split it and you're not doing anything. And if you're like doing a mono red and not playing anything at that particular turn, you can save this for later. But like, this is a pretty, like, all things considered, I think this is a pretty decent red uncommon. Like, where's white's uncommon like this? Jeez. So this is really decent for an uncommon, gosh. And a commander set? Oh yeah, I would take this. This is, do I have a deck to put this in? I was thinking of like a Felden deck, but Felden doesn't like take advantage of this too well because you need to encore. You need to exile it, so it's always like a ritual that has to exile itself. Of course, unless you really want to bring him back for 3 mana every time, but I don't think it's worth it. This card is sick, and I don't know what deck would want this, but it's sick. It's more of a battle cruiser to mid power, but I think for its rarity, like this card is sick. Sick card. Bella Borka Spectral Sergeant. 2 red and a white. Legendary creature, Spirit Soldier. Note the converted mana cost of each card that's in exile, that was put into exile. Wait, note the converted mana cost of each card as it's put into exile. So it's any card. Interesting. Bella Borka Spectral Sergeant's power is equal to the greatest number noted for this turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn, star 5. So the first text is kind of interesting because it's like, does that mean exiled face down and exiled face up? If it is, it's like, how do you note that? That could give you some information. Maybe it's worded like that just so you could get some, there's like some upside to that sort of top effect. But also means you can do exile tribal or you exile your own stuff to hit for a lot. It's a outpost siege in the command zone, which means Boros control could be a thing. They get stronger because you do the greatest number of CMC, but if you're playing control, it's like, do you really want that much high CMC stuff in your exile? I don't think so. This card's neat. I think it's pretty cute for Boros effect. Of course, you have like things like Winota that are stronger in Boros, but like if you do this on turn, if you had the Jeweled Amulet in turn 1 and it games are lasting 10 turns, this is draw 10 potentially. If it's all like Merry Christmas Land, you don't exile anything you can't use. Would you play that? If your commander said draw 10 cards and you only played it once in the entire game, like it was an instant, or would you play that? I think this card is like neat. I don't know how strong it is though. This is probably battle cruiser to high power. If and only if they really pump it out. They play around like the control element. I don't think you'd play it as an aggro element because it's not worth exiling stuff while you're in aggro, right? I don't know. Next up, we have Body of Knowledge, 3 blue creature avatar. Your knowledge power is equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no maximum hand size, and then it is dealt damage. Draw that many cards. So you don't want to block this, and you want to get a fat hand. I like this. This is a nice effect because obviously the bigger it is, more people are inclined to block it, and whenever it's dealt damage, it's being dealt that much damage. It doesn't have trample. Like you swing with this, it's basically like draw a card, sort of. That's assuming everything's aligned, of course, but like this is neat. Yeah, neat. Next up we have Soul of Eternity, creature avatar. Soul of Eternity's power and toughness are each equal to your life total. Encore, 9 star. This is just a Sarah avatar. It's just it doesn't have the shuffle back in effect, which is fine because like generally whenever I've had played it, I haven't played it in a while. It's not coming back anytime soon, so like this is fine. Like I'd rather have it in my graveyard. This is somewhat like a creative effect if you have enough life. If you have more life than your opponents, and you also need to clear the board before you play this. Like this could be strong. It's equal to your life total. And 7 mana, if you're playing mono white, it's like usually you'll gain some life. And so this becomes a little stronger because no one's really attacking you too much, or you have enough life that you have more life than everyone else. It's not that bad. Anyways, next up we have Kwain Itinerant Meddler. For Zorius, legendary creature, rabbit, wizard. Each player may draw a card, then each player who drew a card this way gains 1 life, 1/3. Okay, this is honestly one of those effects that I would never see printed in Azorius. I figured most of their draw effects are stapled on to their attack triggers. So this is interesting. Although I don't think it's competitive. This is like a nice for maybe a politics / pillow fort deck. I don't think it'd be competitively viable, but it's definitely cute. I'd want to make a deck around this because it's my favorite color combos, but it's kind of bad, I think. to be honest, unless you've got like the Null Breacher or Narset or any of those sort of effects, Smothering Ties. That's the only time it'll be good because they may draw a card. So it's like you can't like actually mill them out. Kind of sucks. It's whatever. It's whatever. It's kind of cool. It's a wizard, so mind over matter goes infinite with. Of course, you're discarding a card, I think, untapping it. So you're not netting cards like your opponents would. Ooh, I want this card to be good, but it's not. It's not good. Mid power to high power. That's the verdict, boys. All right, next up, Miara, Thorn of Glade. 1 in a black creature, legendary elf scout. When another elf you control dies, may pay 1 and gain 1 or and 1 life to draw a card. Partner 1/2. It's cute. I don't think it's particularly good, but if you're playing elf tribal, you'd play this. You want to play like some variant of black and green, maybe. This is probably pretty good. Feast of Succession. 4 black sorcery. All creatures get -1/-4 on the turn. You become monarch. This card I think is pretty good for mid-range, or not mid-range, mid-power. You wipe the board, you become monarch. So like it's like drawing 2 cards off of this. Because if everything's like low CMC enough, right? Because you draw the end of turn. There are no creatures there's no creatures that with haste that can attack you that you know of, right? So everyone goes around, they play their creatures, they don't have haste, so they can't attack you. So you draw another card, and then next time around, all the creatures have haste that they played, right? Well, then you just play another board wipe because you're playing black, and so you just continuously hold monarch that way. I think this card is cool. This card is definitely sick. Yeah, this card is definitely sick. I think it's a neat card. You probably play this in mid-powered battlecruiser. I think it's a decent card. And of course, the more aggro your opponents are, the better, because of what I said. Although it might be some trade-off because generally lower CMC cards have haste than higher CMC cards, I think. So it depends. It depends. I think it's decent though. Humble Defector reprint, nice. So we've got Akroma, Visions of Ixidor, 5, 6, 7 mana for flying first strike Visions, trample 6/6 creature. Beginning of each combat until end of turn, each other creature you control gets +1/+1 if it has flying, +1/+1 if it has first strike, and so on for all the other different abilities they have. All right, it seems very bad. I talked about this in the comment section of Reddit before, so I don't really want to talk about it now. Maybe we'll talk about it later. I think this card is very me. I don't think it's that good at all for like a white mythic compared to others. Like this is, I mean, the ceiling is higher than the others. Like looking back at, yeah, I think it's definitely. I mean, I guess the blue one could be higher because it can copy anything. You could copy this, right? But like this one is generally higher than the others. But the floor is way lower, right? This could be a 7 mana, first strike, vigilance, trample with flying 6/6. That's it. It says each other creature too, so it's pretty bad in that extent. I don't know. I don't feel like talking about this one. This one's just not as good. Not good at all. Next up, we have Akroma's Will, 3 and a white instant. Choose one if you control your commander. Cast both. Choose both. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn. Creatures you can gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from all colors until end of turn. I think this card is fine in more like Hateberry decks. I don't think it's that good though. I mean, compare it to Ajani's Intervention, which I think it's Heroic Intervention, which gives your creatures hexproof and indestructible. This is kind of the same, except it gives protection, which is a little better than hexproof. The only problem with this is that it's 4 mana, and so I think for the most part, like if you cast the hexproof part, hexproof and indestructible, I would say it's worth 3 mana if that was a card by itself. The Flying Vigilance Double Strike, I don't think we've seen that on a card, but that's generally because the Double Strike does enhance the power. I would say it's an overrun effect, which is about 3-4 mana maybe. I don't know, give or take. This card is fine. It's a little expensive, more on the expensive side. So unless you're in a Hateberry deck or like a aggro deck, I don't think it's worth it for the protection clause. I would want to say high power. Battlecruiser to high power. Like I think it's okay. It's pretty high CMC, but like I don't think it's worth protecting your stuff. I think it's worth more as a creative effect, where like your creatures give double strike, trample, and they're unblockable, or give essentially trample because of protection, right? But they get double strike, flying, vigilance, Like the flying and double strike, that's very hard to. That's basically unblockable. Lifelink is pretty strong, so you're getting a lot of life off of this. Indestructible, protection from all. It's basically unblockable. I think it's a pretty strong effect. I think it's. Ooh, it's so close to being good. It's so close. Maybe one or two more keywords. I think it's really close. Like a finisher in a hate bird deck in like high power plus. I like this card a lot, but I don't think it's that good. I could be wrong here, but this card's neat. I think this is a neat card. If you control your commander, it's pretty neat, and you go off with it in an aggro deck, like in a Yasharan deck or something. Ooh, that's spicy. That's spicy. Pretty versatile too. Anyways, next card. Next card, we've got Dawnglade Regent. As you become monarch, permanents you control have hexproof, 8/8. It's whatever. Don't think it's too interesting, but it's an 8/8, so it's big and it's standing there for you in front of your way. So good luck getting monarch with that. Probably mid power. I think it's a mid power card. Mid power battlecruiser. Hellkite Courser, 4 and red flying. As it enters the battlefield, it may cast your commander from your command zone. It gains haste and return to your command zone to be the next end step. 6/5. I think this card is generally only good for like a Godo deck or maybe like a Dragon deck. Someone with a huge CMC that's like even more than 6 most of the time. Yeah, I think it's the only deck it's gonna be good in. Like, why do you want to give your commander haste unless it's like an aggro deck or like a fast combo deck, right? So for that reason, I think this is a battle cruiser. I mean, it could be played in all sorts of meta levels. So maybe it's just like a variable. That a term I want to start using now? Variable. I think so. I think I'll just stick to that. What do we have next? Coercive Recruiter. When it enters the battlefield, it can control target creature on turn. It's untap it. Gets haste and it's a pirate and it's other types. This card is fine. I think it's like a Kiki Jiki combo of some sort. You can untap Kiki. Kiki taps this, create another copy, untaps Kiki. Yeah, it just goes infinite Kiki, which a lot of cards do. I don't think it's too crazy, but it's just another combo. If you're playing pirates, you play this with the Kiki, of course. Maybe you play this again alongside the Kiki, just to have another like infinite combo outlet with Kiki. And that's fine. Next up, we have Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. 3 and a blue legendary creature, human rogue. You may have it enters a copy as any creature as long as except it's also Sakashima. All its other abilities. Legend rule does not apply. Permanent to control. 3/1 partner. Wasn't Sakashima a wizard? Why is it a rogue now? I swear he was a wizard. I could be wrong about this, but I swear he was a wizard. I think this Sakashima is it good if you want 2 copies, but also want your partner deck to be blue. Is that the only, like, imagine playing like 2 Tymnas? Is that worth it? Legend rule doesn't apply, so you could like play 2 Tymnas, one after the other, and then draw. How many cards are you drawing? Say you went in Merry Christmas Land. You're drawing 6 on turn 4. I'd take that. That's a lot. That's a decent amount. I think it's fine. Yeah, not too bad. If you really want to play blue with your other partner and you want to play like one partner because you like that partner or something like that, or maybe you just want to like have some sort of strategy where like you want 2 of that thing, or maybe you want the legend rule clause. This card's fine. I think it's definitely decent. Alright, next one. Sakashima's Protege. 6 mana, Flash, Cascade. Enters the copy as any permanent enter battlefield this turn. 3/1. Ooh. You know what would suck if you cast this on your turn? Right? Because it's just a 3/1 for 6 mana. Of course, that would never happen because you're a smart player like me. Enters the copy as any permanent, so it could be a land. Like, what if someone just passed and you wanted to play this and it was just in your hand? Do you just hold it? I don't think it's worth holding it. You just play it because it has Cascade too, so you're at least getting a land, hoping that they played a land this turn. Then you get something else too. Basically, the other spell you Cascade into has Flash. It's okay. You play this in probably mid power battlecruiser. That's probably the only place you want to play this at. I don't see any other. It's pretty expensive for this. I don't know what you want to do with it. Sakashima's Will. Choose one. If you control your commander, choose both. Target opponent choose a creature they control. You gain control of it. Choose a creature you control. Each other creature you control deals a copy of that creature on a turn. Jeez, I don't think this card is good at all. Next up, Hole Breacher. 3 mana. If an opponent would draw a card, except the first one they draw each turn. Instead, you create a treasure token. 3/2. I don't need a map to find riches. Interesting. he doesn't need to look for mana. It's right there. It's basically what he's trying to say. This card is, of course, pretty strong. I hoped it was white. Talked about this on Reddit. Not gonna talk about it too much again. I think it's a sweet card. I don't think I hoped a card like this would exist in white, but of course you gotta have those juicy blue cards to appease the masses. I guess I don't know. I wish this was like a white card though, so we can advise more people to play white because it's a whole conversation. But I don't want to get into it. I will eventually, but I don't want to get into it. It's fine. Like it's gonna be a staple. Like you play blue, you play this. Everyone's drawing cards. The fact that it's a better alms collector is pretty cool too, because there's a lot of like draw a card type effects like Heuristic Study or Mystic Remora. And so if those exist, this card's gonna be pretty bonkers. It definitely slows the game down. It incentivizes you to not draw a card. It's basically a better smothering type / alms collector, but also basically somewhat like a Notion Thief, but it ramps you. Because that's what blue does. It ramps. It ramps, boys. Alright. Mana drain's also cool. Not much to talk about there. Lathiel, Bounteous Dawn. Bounteous. What a bounteous card. Lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, distribute up to that many plus sums counted among any number of other target creatures. 2/2. Ooh, this is close. If it said each or target creatures, this would be good. Then it basically goes like kinda infinite with itself. Like you attack, it gets bigger. You attack, it keeps getting bigger. But the fact that it doesn't, that's so rough. You do lifelink tribal with this. Otherwise, it's like, it's so. I think Emeil is still better, but this card is so close to being like really strong for Selesnya. I don't think it's gonna. Maybe it still gets played, but like for a Selesnya card, like this is if it said, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If it could target itself, that'd be dank. That would be super dank. We also have Araumi, Dead of Tide. Exile target cards from your graveyard. Equal number of opponents you control. Target creature in your graveyard gains encore until end of turn. 1/4. Encore cost is equal to its mana cost. This card would be sick if you had like Gilded Drake and you like encored it or any sort of those effects. It doesn't have partner, unfortunately, so you have to restrict what you want to do with it. I think this card is fine for uncommon. Like the power level for this and uncommon is kind of crazy though. You gotta play more of a creature centric deck for though. Also has to be relatively low CMC, I think. Maybe you don't. Maybe it doesn't have to be though. This card is sick though. For uncommon legend, I'd take that. What else do we have? Any other juicy cards? I think that's about it, actually. There's some other cards here, like Necrotic Hex, but of course I don't think they were that good, so we're just gonna skip over it. That looks like it's it, boys. Well, anyways, hope you guys liked this video. Hope you guys saw some cool cards. It kind of sucks that white just didn't have any good cards, although I was expecting them to say, like, didn't they say we were gonna get good cards? Maybe they thought, like, Keeper of the Cord was, like, a really good card, but the fact that it gets hosed by a lot kind of sucks. It tutors basically every other turn. I don't know how to take advantage of that, though. You don't. You really can't. I think it's good for, like, a... I say this because, like, of course, if you guys don't know me, I play a lot of EDH and a mono white EDH. I think it's good because it can be seen as, like, blockers, and you trade them off every time someone attacks with it. And usually that means you're going to go down on the creatures and then just generate some again. And so it's good for like Pillow Fort effects if you have not too many creatures in your deck. It also means that you're always ramping to catch up to the strongest person, essentially. If because granted their whole deck isn't made of land, so they're going to draw some non-land cards. And of course it means you catch up to them because you're also catching up with the other people that are around them that are ahead of you. So I think that for that reason, it's probably pretty strong in my deck. Yeah, that's basically it. There's some pretty decent cards in here, though. Anyways, we'll peace out there, guys. Hope you guys like this video. There's some decent cards. I hope there were more decent cards, but, you know, here we are. And the universe existing. Anyways, deuces, have a nice one, and I'll catch you guys later.